Hello, gremlins! Welcome back to another aesthetic art video. Like always, I start these videos by spinning my random wheel picker to decide what aesthetic to research and draw. Today, that aesthetic will be... KIDCORE! KIDCORE is a really fun and bright aesthetic that centers childhood nostalgia in its fashion and visuals. A lot of KIDCORE images are centered on 90s toys or games, but the aesthetic can be adapted for whatever is nostalgic for the person using the aesthetic. Central to the aesthetic are bright colors, especially the primary colors red, yellow, and blue. Also important are childhood toys, kid jewelry with large colorful beads, and a focus on wonderment and whimsy. Some specific visuals involve brands or popular toys from when someone was a child, like Furbies, Beanie Babies, TY toys, Tamagotchi, fidget spinners, and online flash game websites. Other visuals include popular kids' book series, whichever series were important to the person partaking in the aesthetic. For me, they would be the Magic Treehouse book series, which made me fall in love with reading, and to a lesser extent, the Rainbow Magic series. Less specific imagery includes playgrounds, ball pits, blocks, childhood art supplies and artwork, kids' board games or card games, cute animals, and childhood bedrooms. Cartoons and video game characters are also often part of this aesthetic, often as graphics on clothing or as figurines. Watching kids' shows, either ones you watched as a kid or new ones coming out now, are good ways to partake in this aesthetic in a less visually obvious way. Some people just like KIDCORE for the nostalgia factor, while others use the aesthetic in a deeper way, to connect with or heal their inner child. If someone had a hard childhood, or is having a rough time being an adult and finds childhood safer, this aesthetic might be a safe space for them. Surrounding oneself with toys and bright colors can be very healing. As a way to reconnect with childhood in a more temporary manner, doing kid-like activities can be really fun. Examples include eating snacks you enjoyed as a child, watching cartoons and movies from childhood, playing with toys, collecting and using stickers, going out in the rain to stomp in puddles, having a pajama day, collecting and snuggling with stuffed animals, building with Legos, playing games aimed at kids, making sandcastles, doing arts and crafts, and partaking in imaginary play. While many people may go back to childhood toys and games when feeling nostalgic, dressing in a KIDCORE way is more niche, as it is a very bright and loud fashion aesthetic. I think it looks really cool, although I don't tend to dress in the style myself. KIDCORE clothing is usually very saturated, and uses clothing designs that reflect the kind of clothing kids wear. Some specific clothing items include light-up sneakers or heelys, high-top sneakers, especially when they are colourful, Crocs with lots of gibbets, stripy socks and patterned tights, overalls, both long pants and shorts, t-shirts with cartoon characters or animals on them, jeans, shorts, suspenders, colourful pajamas, and tutus. Accessories are the kind of bright plastic accessories kids have access to, and lots of them. Costume jewelry, tiaras, slap-on bracelets, anything made with loom bands, colourful hair caps and berets, temporary tattoos, and stickers on your clothing and skin. A lot of this aesthetic is very messy and maximalist, like a young kid getting to dress themselves but with adult money. Jewelry can be homemade with kids' craft sets, and clothing doodled on with washable markers. Clothing often won't match and there will be clashing colours and patterns. I gave this character as many elements of KIDCORE fashion as I could, making them look very colourful and maximalist. Their accessories took me a long time to draw in colour, but they were really fun to work on, and they are very important for their look. I gave them pink and purple light-up sneakers and thigh-length rainbow striped socks. I never had light-up sneakers as a kid, but I remember thinking they were really cool, and they definitely fit this aesthetic. The glow effects I used don't work super well, but it makes sense since light-up shoes show up best in the dark, and this image is set in a brightly lit room. I also gave them a pair of short denim overalls decorated with what are either stickers, embroidered on patches, or painted designs of emojis. On one pocket they have two different smiley faces and a flower, on the other pocket there is a heart, and on the top pocket of the overall's bib there is another large yellow smiley face. The overalls themselves are light blue with upturned cuffs and brassy clips on the straps. The one element of KIDCORE fashion I didn't give this character is a cartoon character t-shirt. Partially I have no idea what the rules are surrounding licensed characters in artwork I'm sharing. More importantly, any graphic I put on the t-shirt will be covered by the overalls. Instead, the t-shirt is just striped with the four main KIDCORE colours: red, yellow, green, and blue. Another minor detail I gave this character is the pink and blue band-aid on their elbow. Band-aids in bright colours or with characters on them are another element of the KIDCORE aesthetic, although not a prominent one. This character is posing with one hand in the half-heart position. On one of their fingers they are wearing a very specific ring. There's this one type of plastic costume ring I remember distinctly as a kid, with a bright plastic rhinestone in either an oval, rectangle, or heart shape, surrounded with silver plastic. I don't remember if I owned any of these rings myself, but I know one of my friends had some in her dress-up supplies, and I loved wearing them. I don't even know what these rings were called, but I know they were iconic. This character's ring has a bright green ovular rhinestone. I also gave them graphic and mismatched earrings. In one ear they have a simple six-sided dice earring, in the other ear they have a purple teddy bear earring. On their cheek there's a smiley face sticker, and in their hair there are two hair clips. Their very curly hair is in 2 space buns secured with hair ties that have large plastic baubles on them. I definitely used to have hair ties like this. This character's hair ties are mismatched, as one is yellow and one is purple. They are also slightly transparent. Coloring this character's many bracelets and necklaces was the most time-consuming part of this illustration, but it was really fun. I went arm by arm, then did the necklaces last. Each wrist has a stack of bracelets of various styles with lots of different colors. There are silly bands, my best attempt at drawing loom band bracelets, and various bracelets made from colorful plastic beads. On one wrist, they have a bracelet with the colors of the bi flag in the beads. On the other wrist, they have a bracelet with chunky charms on it. As for the necklaces, one is a style of beaded necklace made by grabbing random beads out of a jar and threading them together with no pattern whatsoever. I chose the colors for this by randomly moving my stylus around the color wheel and then changing them if 2 colors next to each other were too similar. The other necklace has a set pattern, a 6-colored rainbow, which is a lot easier to finish. As well as all the color this character is wearing, their hair is also colored. Their hair is very dark, but the ends of their curls are colored bright green on one side and bright blue on the other, probably with temporary hair chalk or something similar. I used to use damp chalk pastels to temporarily dye the ends of my hair, which granted was much lighter. It dried very dusty and would come out as soon as you washed your hair, and was also really quite a nasty texture, but I wanted green hair really badly. I have since started using real hair dye, which is a much nicer way to have colourful hair, but chalk isn't too bad for a temporary look. I also remember one camping trip where one of the older girls showed me how to use a school highlighter to dye the ends of my hair, but that definitely wouldn't work on dark hair. I finished the base colours of this character by giving them dark brown skin and eyes, and bright blue and red eyeshadow. I then got started on the shading. One of the side effects of using so many colours in an image is that it's really hard to find a colour to shade with that works for all those colours. I ended up using a warm brown for the shadows, but it does make the yellows look quite dark and the blues slightly too brown. It does give the whole image a warm look though, which I think is important for a KIDCORE look. So much of this aesthetic is about warmth and joy and fun, and using too many cool colours wouldn't give that vibe. When the shading was done, I moved on to the background. Another side effect of using so many colours for the character is that it's hard to draw a background that the character stands out against. It's also really hard to keep the background from being too busy, especially since the character design is already busy. I also wanted the background to have KIDCORE energy, which is hard to do without being really colourful and busy. I decided to make the background a shelf filled with toys, books, games, and art supplies. I started by drawing a giant pink teddy bear on the top shelf. To make the bear look fluffy, I used the brush I normally use for grass for the outlines, then filled it in with pink, shaded it with another grass brush, and blurred it to keep from having too much noisy detail. The bear has long floppy limbs and a bright red bow tie. The next section of the background has a little metal tin with a pen, a pencil, and a flag, and a sleeping Furby. The pen is sparkly and pink with a giant pom-pom on the top. The pencil is a normal yellow graphite pencil, with one of those flower-shaped erasers that don't work at all on the end. The Furby is the modern electronic design, based on the Furby my cousin used to own. It has shiny blue plastic ears and faceplate, and is red and blue stripy. I don't know if red and blue stripes were ever a design Furbies were made in, but I also don't care. I'm making the background quickly and this isn't meant to be the main focus. On the middle shelf there are 2 more stuffed animals. First, there's a green Squishmallow frog. Beside it are 2 toys leaning on each other. One is a TY unicorn, purple with a pink horn and hooves and the iconic huge sparkly eyes. I still have a TY unicorn, but it had a polka dot design, which I decided was more complicated than I wanted to draw for this already detailed design. Leaning on the unicorn is a floppy beige bunny with blue stripy fabric on its ears. One ear is half covering the unicorn's head. Also on the middle shelf, on the other side of my characters, there are 2 game boxes, neither based on a real game. The bottom box is some kind of puzzle, with puzzle pieces decorating the side of the box. The top game is some kind of game where the path that you move down space by space. On the bottom shelf there's a set of matching books with colourful spines. This is meant to be some kind of long-running kids chapter book series, where all the books have identical spines except for colour. Like I did on the character's necklace, I just picked random colours by moving my stylus around the colour wheel. Finally, also on the bottom shelf, there's a box of paint and a mug of paintbrushes. The bits of the paint tubes you can see are based on the brand of paint I used as a kid, which might only exist in Kenya, where I grew up. These might not be widely recognizable paint tubes, but they are the most recognizable type of paint to me. I finished the background by painting the back of the shelf brown, and the wall light yellow. My final touch was making the back wall a little bit more interesting with some splatters of pink, purple, and blue paint. With that, this highly detailed, maximalist, and colourful image is done. If you want a downloadable copy of this art for your own, it is now available on my Etsy, link in the description. This is one of my more detailed aesthetic art drawings, and while the detail does take me a long time to draw, it is really fun and I love the final look of these images. It's very busy and colourful, but that captures the essence of KIDCORE perfectly in my opinion. KIDCORE isn't an aesthetic visual I gravitate to too much, but I love the idea behind it, the embracing of childhood and the fun of being a kid. It wasn't that long ago that I was a kid, and I think I'm keeping bits of my childhood alive. I still have a lot of my stuffed animals, which I sleep with every night, and I haven't entirely grown up and hope I never do. I hope you like this look into the aesthetic KIDCORE, and let me know in the comments if this aesthetic resonates with you. Until next time, bye!